How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Night of the Living Dummy 2 by R.L. Stine. This is the 31st book in the Goosebumps series, and originally came out in May 1995, and is quite obvious by the title, a sequel to the classic Night of the Living Dummy. And I guess first off we should mention this cover here. I do like the cover, you know, Slappy in this bright, cheery room and the other two toys kind of looking at him like, what's up with this guy? That being said though, oh my gosh, the bright colors on this. I don't think it helped that the person who did the border decided to directly match the colors in the painting. But oh man, bright green and bright pink on this one. It's kind of funny. The redo cover features bright yellow. So I guess something about Night of the Living Dummy 2 means bright, intense colors for some reason. Although the second version of the cover, I do like that, you know, he has his paintbrushes, which are directly taken from the story itself. Always gotta like stuff like that. But anyway, with Night of the Living Dummy 2, I find it's about as good as the first one. Some people say they like it better, and I think the gist of the consistence on this book is the dummy stuff is pretty similar to part 1. But this time around, we have a Slappy doing it all instead of that darn Mr. Wood. So the dummy stuff is about the same, and if you just read Night of the Living Dummy, it might feel a little repetitive, but if you're going into this wanting more dummy shenanigans, you're gonna get that at about the same level. But the thing that makes it different from Night of the Living Dummy 1 is the family dynamic, and I really do like how Stine recognized that as a crucial thing from that book and decided to bring it over and change it. So the dummy stuff is the same, but the family dynamic stuff is very different. In part 1, you had twins, and the two twins felt that they didn't have an identity because they were always with each other doing the same thing, and they wanted to be individuals. Here, we're told from the perspective of a middle child that feels that she doesn't have an identity because she's outshone by both her older sister and her younger brother. And that is something we can go very deep into. I'm super proud of R.L. Stine for doing a good character study and talking about issues that kids might face in their relationships with their siblings. But yeah, you know, the idea of blending together with the first one versus being forgotten with the second, lots to dig in here, and I do like that they shook up the family drama. If you have not read the original Night of the Living Dummy, you can jump in here. They do a pretty good job at resetting things to zero. Don't quite know how that happened, more on that later. But actually, a good bit of trivia is the Goosebumps TV show decided to adapt this one and not the original Night of the Living Dummy. So, yeah, the TV viewers jumped in at this point too. So, kind of strange, but whatever. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to take a minute, look at some key plot points, do a bit of an analysis, but I won't go and touch on the ending. Anyway, we have a family, a mom and a dad and 3 kids. The older sister is an artist. She's really good, she's winning awards, and her art is being featured in shows. She's the perfect child. The younger brother is the loud, kind of obnoxious, pulls pranks, and does silly stuff. He's the younger, goofier kid. And then lost in the middle is the middle child, our book's main character, Amy. And the thing is, she's not as silly as her younger brother, not as loud, and just not as good, not getting the good grades, not featured in all the shows, not as talented as her older sister there, and in turn, she feels forgotten about. She feels like, you know, what value do I have? And that's what she's thinking in her head, which is a very important thing to touch on. And again, super major props for R.L. Stine. You know, you get lots of other books aimed at kids that are just like, oh, we should share, or a bunch of these, you know, base level values that get talked about to death all the time. But here's R.L. Stine talking about, hey, do you feel like your siblings outshine you? Let me tell you a story about that to help you process. And I mean, super good idea. But anyway, the middle child, Amy, has her dummy, Dennis. And Dennis is an older ventriloquist dummy. He's kind of broken, and his head keeps falling off. Good fun, you know, horror meets a silly gag. That's what we know Goosebumps for. So the dummy's head keeps falling off. That's pretty funny. And the dad decides to get her a new dummy. And that will be, of course, Slappy. He found Slappy in an antique shop, and inside his pocket, Amy finds the magic words. So somehow Slappy got set to where Mr. Woods started in the first book. I don't know if there's something magic with this antique shop. Maybe the owner is behind it or something. I'm not sure, and if they explain this later on in the Living Dummy series, I'd be curious to learn more. I know that the book Slappy Beware kind of does his origin story, so I am kind of curious. But yeah, no significant spoilers for the last one, but it ended on your standard Goosebumps, the horror is still continuing. So somehow we reset back to zero. I don't know, but Slappy is now where Mr. Wood started. Anyway, Amy, of course, reads the magic words. You really should watch Evil Dead and learn not to read Latin out loud. But anyway, after that, Slappy is up to some antics. And there's some pretty cool stuff. She reaches inside of him, and Slappy has what's described as a moldy sandwich inside his head for some reason, which really no idea what that's about. Slappy just can get gross sometimes. So a bit of goo humor, goo horror. It's Goosebumps, it's the 90s, everyone loves goo. So they clean him out, but then as the dad's looking at Slappy, true to his name, he slaps the dad. And he tells the daughter, hey, why'd you make the dummy slap me? Quit it. And the daughter just has to sit there and take the blame for it. And she has to go, how did that happen? Was it like momentum? Did dad accidentally swing the dummy or something? You know, those standard, the dummy couldn't possibly have done that type deals. And of course, the dummy is going to go after the older sister's artwork to make her mad, and they'll start blaming the middle child on it, and no one's going to believe when she says Slappy did it. Because of course they wouldn't. And as far as the tear goes, the antics are pretty similar to the first one. They're still good, but pretty similar. Now that being said, if you're reading these in order, book 7 to book 31, it had been a little while since we got silly dummy antics, so it's good to return. But if you're reading Night of the Living Dummy 1 and then jump right into Night of the Living Dummy 2, you may have just heard all this stuff. But that being said, they do it a little differently, and they tie it in with character. For example, going after the older sister's art projects, we can really see Slappy as a metaphor for the jealousy that the middle child feels, you know, and they see why the middle child would choose to do this, but of course she didn't really. Slappy is kind of a metaphor for all that she's got going on in her head, put into one place. And when she starts to tell people, oh, Slappy did it, you can tell that her parents think she's going crazy, and there's whispers of, hey, maybe we should send her to a specialist or something. And the fact that she can't really believe that Slappy did it either, I mean, she starts to question herself. And you don't get stuff that intense in a lot of other kids' horror books, but the idea of, maybe I am going crazy. You can really see how this all plays into her and how much of Amy's psychology is really explored here. And I really did think that was pretty intense, the place she starts off on, and going deeper and deeper when Slappy shows up and going into the, maybe I am losing my mind. Yeah, not a lot of other kids' books go there. And without any significant spoilers, I do like the ending. There's a fun reveal here that one of the other siblings says, that when that sibling drops that line, you're like, oh, that is really interesting. And then, of course, the ending is fun and wacky. It's not as big as that final dummy battle in the first one, but there is a bunch of fun little antics going on here. So it is one that people do say, yeah, it's repetitive, but when you take them all on their own, a lot of people do like this one better, and this one is the one that did get adapted into that TV episode. So overall, I really did like it. It's good to actually see Slappy take front and center stage, because, again, last time it was mainly Mr. Wood. And I am recording these after first readings, and I am going through and reading a lot of the Goosebumps for the first time. So I have not read Night of the Living Dummy 3 yet. I do have it, and I do hope to get to it soon, because I am really curious. The cover of that one, there's a bunch of dummies on there. And I mean, we have met a few dummies in the series already. Slappy, Mr. Wood, and now Dennis. I am curious who all those other dummies are. Hopefully it'll be cool. But anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Goosebumps playlist, where you can see my reviews for several other books in the series. I've reviewed the first Night of the Living Dummy, Welcome to Dead House, the first special edition. There should be a few other things in here. So if you want to see more, you can see more there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Goosebumps playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.